Welcome to the TravelPulse podcast. Here's your host, Mark Murphy.
Hi, it's Mark Murphy, back with the TravelPulse podcast, the crossroads of travel, finance, politics, you name it. And today I am coming to you from the Cancun Riviera Maya region of Mexico. And we're actually down here shooting a little docuseries about what's really happening in the world of travel to Mexico versus what we're hearing in the mainstream media, which paints a very, very different picture. So just a little quick update on what we've seen in the last few days. We've interviewed a number of different travel agents who are down here checking on properties and, making sure that they're up to speed on all that's happening in Mexico. And we also spoke to a number of travelers. So on the travel agent side, pretty much to a T, they're telling me that when a customer raises a concern about travel to Mexico, they hit them back with the facts, and they let them know that they're selling clients constantly to Mexico, that they're not having any problems, and to not believe what you're seeing on TV or reading, which was which is a really good thing to say, because guess what? It's what I talked about on last week's podcast. Fake news when it comes to travel to Mexico. Ironically, as I've been down here, I've done some live Facebook broadcasts, and in one case, a guy on Facebook basically told me I was risking people's lives and I was getting them killed, which I thought was ludicrous, but guess what? That's how it is. On the traveler side, let me tell you what's really interesting is when I asked people, when they said to friends that they were coming to Mexico, what was the response? And every one of them said, well, my friends, my family said, stay away, it's dangerous, this and that. And I then asked, well, how many of those folks have ever traveled to Mexico? To a T, not a one. So the people with the most advice of what to do or not to do when it comes to traveling are the ones that don't travel. Okay? Think about that. They don't travel, yet they're giving you advice, or in this case, these travelers' advice, on a place they know nothing about, that they've only seen in pictures, on videos, or have seen reported on by the major news media. So right out of the gate, they're going to be clueless. And all these folks confirmed it. One of the coolest interviews we did was a young family from Huntsville, Alabama, who had their 6-month-old baby and their 21-month-old baby. They're with them at the Hyatt Ziva, talking about how great a time they had and how wonderful it was. And man, they couldn't be happier. And she takes her kids for stroller rides, walks down outside the resort, etc. And what a good time they're having, and what a great time the kids are having, and how safe they feel. So we're going to be putting those up very soon. We obviously have to get back from Mexico, do some post-production, get them cleaned up, and get them out the door. And that's our plan for next week. So hopefully after next week's podcast, I'll be able to send you an email and let you know that those videos are live on TravelPulse.com and all of our syndication partners. So that's kind of where things are at with regards to where I'm at and why I'm here. And, just as an FYI, for anybody who doesn't know it, I don't make money selling travel. Travel agents make money selling travel. Suppliers of hotel rooms and car rentals, they make money selling travel. I report on travel. So it is freaking annoying when somebody makes a comment, oh, you're just doing this to make money. And I'm like, you're a freaking idiot, because I don't make money talking about travel. In fact, in most cases, when I am doing this, I am on my own dime, and it's my own perspective and has nothing to do literally with anybody else. But on my stay here, I am now in property number 2, and I have hit a total of about 8 properties in 3 days. And the thing that I've got to tell travelers, and I know travel agents know this, I got to tell travelers, when you go to a site like TripAdvisor, and I'm going to give you a example of a stay that I had for the last 3 nights. It's a property in the hotel zone. I'm gonna give them a pass, but I'm gonna read some of the reviews on TripAdvisor for this property. And Overall, this property is in the top 12% or 15, let's say 15% to be fair, top 15% of rated properties in Cancun. This same property has an overall rating on TripAdvisor of 4.5 out of 5 stars. So think about that. You'd be like, man, this is a great product. I mean, 4.5 out of 5? I mean, it's almost impossible to get a perfect score, and they're damn close to it. And at every level, the location, the cleanliness, the service, the value, it all comes up, and they have a, quote, certificate of excellence from TripAdvisor. For somebody who actually travels for a living and has stayed in, I can't even tell you how many freaking resorts and how many properties I've stayed in over the years. If this property is 4.5 stars, I'm 23 and a model for Abercrombie and Kent. Okay, just saying. Yeah, there's no way in hell this is a 4.5 star property. That is a joke. I had to laugh out loud when I contrasted what the review said with what the property actually delivers. So, for instance, I think it's kind of funny to read a few of these reviews. 5 stars. This was from yesterday. Amazing experience. I have nothing bad to say about this resort. It was amazing. I would come back again because of the wonderful experience I had here. Food, drinks, room, everything about the hotel was beyond my expectations. Thank you. Another one said, great service and facilities. Stayed here for 10 days with my 2 kids, aged 14 and 11. By the way, I would have left. If I had to stay here more than 3 days, I would have been out of that property. But they said all the staff are excellent. They go out of their way to help and make you feel welcome. Resort is all-inclusive with 4 specialty dinners, restaurants that you have to book in advance, pools, the sea view room, great views. Oh, yeah. So let me tell you what the real deal is on this property. This particular property, which is massive, right on the beach, absolutely sucked. The food sucked. The rooms were worn down and dated. I even took pictures of the walls in the bathroom because they just look grungy and grimy and dirty. This property has not been updated. This property, if somebody stayed here during the same time I did and said it was a 4.5 star property, or in this case, the 2 I just read to you are 5 stars, it illustrates that what is 5 star to some is 2 star to others. And as somebody who is unbiased and who would tell you flat out what the real deal is on a property, what is true 5 star and what is true 2 star, there's nothing wrong with a 2 star property. A lot of 2 and 3 star properties are clean, updated, well maintained. They just don't have a certain level of service. They might not have dining or 24-hour dining and room service and specialty towels or a spa or a gym, any number of factors. But if you know travel, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You shake your head and you wonder, did these people just come from a freaking Hampton Inn that they thought was 4 stars, so this is 5? Okay, I get it. If they think a Hampton Inn is 4 stars, I get it. This is absolutely a 5-star over-the-top resort. But when you go in to eat dinner, and even in a buffet, which has hundreds of choices, you can't find anything good or anything that's just not mediocre, that goes to show you just how effed up these reviews are. Flat out, if you trust TripAdvisor, you're an idiot as a traveler, because you can't tell, are these zeros a hotel paying someone to bash a competitive hotel? Are they paying to get good reviews? Yeah, people do that. They pay, in some cases, not a lot, but in some cases, they put up false reviews. They have people do false reviews. One of the best things you can do, it's a social media site. Go look at the person's background. What have they posted in the past? If that is the first and only review they have ever done, and they just joined, 6 months ago, 2 months ago, a month ago, last week, yeah, take it with a freaking grain of salt. Better yet, get your insider information from the insiders like the travel agents who I ran into, who are literally down here on location, and guess what they were doing? Going to properties and extensively inspecting them so that they can validate with their own eyes, ears, nose, everything that this property is known for, or they think that it's known for. And based on that, they can come back and they can recommend in good conscience a property that they've physically seen. And then they can continue to get feedback from customers who continue to go. Real customers, real feedback, not guessing, what the level of, luxury these people are talking about. I found it ironic also on TripAdvisor that the negative review got no response from the management. The 5-star in what I consider bullshit reviews got management saying, "Oh, thank you so much for saying such wonderful things. We're so happy and proud of our service." Your service sucked, man. It was terrible, and I would never stay at this property again in a million years. But I know you guys are all going to say, "Oh, come on, man! You got to tell us what it is." There's 1,000 properties between the Hotel Zone and Tulum. Plenty to choose from. Find a travel agent. Make sure you get a good recommendation, because my warning to you is, FYI, these reviews are not legit. They're just not. And this is just a glaring illustration. Maybe at some point I'll come out and tell you what the real property is, but I think you'll be able to figure it out on your own. Just look for the top 15% of ranked properties in Cancun and cruise around and waste part of your life that you'll never get back on TripAdvisor. There you go. All right, let's shift to news. So I thought it was a kind of a quiet week for news. There are a few things happening. One of the things that really stood out to me was Florence, Italy. Now, I've been to Italy, but I think 3 times now, but I've never been to Florence, which is a shame because I hear it's an amazing city. Some people say it's their favorite city in Italy. But mayor and the folks in charge there are tired of tourists getting sandwiches and then eating in the streets and, quote, loitering to eat their sandwiches. So I talked to a few folks in the know about the region, the parts of Florence where they're kind of banning this. And it basically means they're sick of tourists, to be frank. They're just sick of tourists. And that's kind of happening in Rome and some other spots as well. Italy's been the hottest destination in Europe forever and continues to be super hot. And maybe they're just sick of their success. I don't know. If I was Italy, I would say, given all the other factors economically that have gone on with respect to Italy, last thing you want to do is drive out tourists. But maybe at the same time, you think you won't drive them out. They'll just keep coming. You kind of want to corral or quarantine them somewhere in terms of walking and eating or loitering and eating. But the experts who have been there will tell me, and this is similar in other spots in Europe, where if you want to sit in a cafe and consume some food, you actually pay more to literally sit down. So folks will opt to do some takeaway, and there's a lot of takeaway opportunities in these tourist areas. So imagine, there's a cart and you get an ice cream or you get a sandwich from a vendor through a window. Well, what do you have to do? Like walk 3 blocks out of the demilitarized zone of Florence, Italy, where you can't eat a freaking sandwich to consume your sandwich? Or you say to people like, all right, I got my sandwich, but I'm only going to look at it because if I eat it, I could incur a fine of up to 450 euros because that's what the potential fine is if you're caught, quote, eating in these areas. So I'm definitely sensitive to the folks that live there, but I'm also cognizant of the massive economic impact. So what I would tell Florence officials is, FYI, if you don't want people doing takeaway and eating it on the street, get rid of the takeaway shops. Don't allow them to do that. Force everyone to sit and dine in, okay? Maybe tell the cafes to stop overcharging for everything if you do dine in, and maybe more people will take you up on that, which is kind of part of the whole law of unintended consequences, right? So when you tell somebody on an airplane that you're going to charge $25 to check your bag, they're going to try to carry that bag on, along with a chicken coop in some cases. And you get the slowdown in boarding, the slowdown in turnaround, the inefficiencies of that, which end up, in many cases, crushing the airline's profitability. And that's part of the law of unintended consequences. Take Florence. If you're going to charge people through the nose to sit down and they just want a quick bite, they're going to opt out of sitting down and they're going to try to take it away. Human nature. And so you kind of created your own animal in large part with that strategy. So maybe it's some food for thought. Oh shit, I just said food for thought. Anyway, yeah, some food for thought. There you go. Not intentional. Now, did you guys see RTTV, the video? I think it was in Crimea, a lion that got into these tourists into their, quote, cart. And when it says it's a safari, it's not really a safari. It's kind of like the lions in an enclosed area, but where they can kind of roam freely, more like a zoo. And these people are cruising by, taking pictures on a extended golf cart, only to see this male lion stir from, chilling in the shade, cruise over, climb into the cab. I mean, think of it. It's a golf cart, extended golf cart. The driver kind of gets bumped out. The woman on the other side gets bumped out. The lion kind of snuggles with them for a second. And next thing you know, the lion's got its freaking paw on the steering wheel, like it's going to be driving somewhere. And people are like going, "Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute." And all I'm thinking is, number one, it's just dumb. Because the next time we're going to read about something like that is where the lion killed the tourist, with a swat of its paw. It's literally life and death can happen that quickly in that environment. Now, maybe the lion was drugged. Maybe the lion had just eaten so much. It was just fat, dumb, and happy and just wanted to play. But I don't know, playing with a wild animal, even if it's in an environment like that, seems to me insane. And then promoting that, which is kind of what this business did. How would you justify that as a business? For the life of me, I can't get it. It's cool. It's a close encounter, but we've seen how people have died during these, quote, close, intimate encounters with wild animals that are totally tame. And, you can go into the cage and with the trainer and then someone comes out without a freaking arm. I want to be able to wave with both arms as I leave the country. I don't think I'm doing that. And that's getting off cheap sometimes. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting story. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Just type in Lion Crimea and WTF or insane, because I think it's both. But yeah, it's always interesting. Always interesting with tourists, especially in parts that are not so up to speed with, I think overall tourism. They're kind of developing and they think it might be a cool attraction, and then someone dies and then they realize, oh shit, we got to get some regulations here. But anyway, what else happened in the week of travel? Well, how about somebody bringing pepper spray onto a plane and, basically having that leak and cause a plane, which in this case is the Hawaiian Airlines flight, to land an emergency landing because people were having respiratory issues. So when you hear that, you're like, illegal pepper spray, not allowed in your carry-on bag, et cetera, et cetera. And the first thing that you think is, what? Hello, TSA. How in the hell does illegal pepper spray get through the TSA checkpoint in Hawaii? Could someone tell me that? And the answer is stuff gets through all the time, literally all the time. And I go back to thinking a lot of the things that we're asked to do from the perspective of TSA are designed to, quote, be, placebos after the fact. For instance, the gentleman who tried to light his shoes on fire over Detroit, coming from France, didn't work out. What was that, a decade ago? I've been taking off my damn shoes since then, except for TSA pre-check. However, I will tell you that when I fly back to the United States from Cancun Airport, I will be going through all of their security, guess what? With my shoes on. So I'm flying into the United States and I don't have to take my shoes off to go through security. However, if I want to fly anywhere within the U.S. or outbound from the U.S., I got to take my shoes off in terms of the regular security line. Does that make any sense to you? So anybody can just come in, like if the shoes were so freaking dangerous, how in the hell does the U.S. allow Mexico to not screen passengers with their shoes off? Or why in the hell do they make us do it if it's okay for people coming from Mexico? I mean, that makes no sense. If it's the gentleman that was coming from France and who's going to set his shoes on fire and blow up the plane over Detroit, that was an inbound flight from a foreign country. But then everybody in the U.S. is now, walking on those grungy floors. Hopefully you got socks on and you can brush the lint and crud off. But yeah, we're all doing that now for over a decade. But for what end purpose when in Mexico you just walk right through with your shoes, your boots, whatever. And as long as you don't have metal in them, like a big metal plate or something, you just get right through. So that is, again, that makes me question, again, the logic behind these decisions. And everyone should question it. So that's back to TSA, and it's a big, hashtag TSA fail, I guess, if you want to call it for what it is. Now, sort of along the same lines of, of changes and policies and things that make you actually feel better. Here's one that I'm pretty happy about. Viking River Cruises and Viking Ocean Cruises has, as of August, instituted an 18 and over policy. So what's kind of cool about that is you go on vacation, you're with your significant other, your husband, your wife, whatever, and you want to go on a river cruise. You want to go on an ocean cruise. Last thing you want to hear is screaming freaking kids, right? And kids pounding up and down the hallways, causing a ruckus. You're looking forward to a really high-end vacation. And I think in this case, Viking said our audience is 50 plus. Most people that are over 50, except maybe George Clooney and other Hollywood A-listers, don't have kids that are running around in diapers or adolescents or even young teens. Most of us, our kids like me, they're in college or they're out of college. So it works great for someone like me because that's the last thing I want is a bunch of screaming kids. And kudos to Viking for doing that. However, I do have to make a note that years ago, I took my kids when they were, 6 and 8, which is actually an exception to the rule back then, because I think back then you had to be 12. And we were filming on board one of the ships in Europe. And I thought I was going to go nuts because I was trying to figure out what my kids would end up doing, because I think at the time they might have been, they were probably about 6 and 8. And as it turns out, they had a great time. And my son became good friends with an 84-year-old man, which jokingly is about the average age of some river cruise passengers. Not quite, but I think years ago it kind of skewed really high. Now it's more in the late 50s to early 70s kind of range on river cruises. But the kids, man, they had a freaking ball. So sorry, kids, you're old enough now that you can go. But if you were young and this rule was in place, unless I got that little exception because I was doing some work for him, you would have been out of luck. So Viking River's new policy, I think people are going to like it, especially people who have older kids or no kids. And if you want to take your kids, there's plenty of lines. I think Talc will take kids on a river cruise. Gosh, I think 3 and up, and I think Crystal on their ships, it's 6 months and up. So you have the ability to choose different lines, but in this case, if you want to be adults only, this would be the line to, one of the lines to choose. All right. Now to wrap up, everyone's always asking me about travel deals. And so I always like to look around and say, where are some great deals? And if you can add some positive impact socially on top of it, that's fantastic. It's a win-win. So here's my call out to all you folks looking for some travel deals. Take a look at what happened to Hawaii in the last week or so with the torrential rains, the storm that got downgraded, the hurricane that got downgraded and dumped, feet of water on the Big Island. The pictures were bad, looked terrible, and so on and so forth. But the reality on the ground for the vast majority, 90% of the properties there that cater to tourists, they're open for business and they're clamoring for your business. So you can do two things. You can support a destination like Hawaii that is going through a tough time because of this recent storm. And in getting back there quickly as a tourist, you're going to help them financially. And you're going to get a great deal on top. So you're going to be doing a good thing and you're going to be experiencing a wonderful destination at the same time. And if you go to Google Flights and take a look on Google Flights at the range of airfares, you can take a connection from pretty much anywhere in the country to Honolulu, and you're talking under $600 each. Somebody just told me they snagged a fare under $300 from Chicago nonstop, which I thought was unbelievable. Producer for ABC's Windy City Live. She said, I saw it, I just had to grab it. And she did. She didn't know where she was going to stay or how long she was going to go. She just ended up saying, I'm going to book 12 days and whatever happens after that. And, that's called being spontaneous and taking advantage of a great deal. And I think in the case of Hawaii, supporting a great destination that could definitely use our support and getting travelers back there. Don't believe, again, all the negative stuff you see, because they're going to concentrate on, let's say, the Hilo area of the Big Island, which is a great area, but not a huge tourist area for most travelers going to the Hawaiian Islands. And it's just the nature of what's there. So a lot of people go to Hilo and they'll take a helicopter ride from Hilo and go over the volcano, etc. But not a lot of people go and stay in Hilo. And so the damage that was done there doesn't affect other parts of the island, doesn't affect the other islands that may not have been affected literally at all. And so there's great opportunities for you to snag a deal. Now that I've given you sort of ways to do it yourself, save yourself time and money, and even get a better deal by booking with a travel agent. The hotel pays them. You pay the same rate whether you book directly with the hotel or through a travel agent, and then the travel agent also has access to vacation packagers, be it Blue Sky, be it United Vacations, be it Pleasant Holidays, GoGo Vacations. There's brands you probably never heard of as a traveler that might in some cases have charter flights or discounted bulk air, and they package up the air, the hotel, ground transportation, etc., and they pass that savings on to the consumer. And again, if you book directly with United Vacations, you pay the same exact price if you had booked it with a travel agent who might have been on the ground, seen that property, knows what's going on, knows the general manager, and can get you an insider VIP type of deal, all for the same price if you did all the work yourself. So that's my final tip of the day, and I hope you all have a great week. We're going to continue shooting video down here in Cancun and Riviera Maya, and look forward to broadcasting it in the next 10 days or so you can see what's really happening in the world of travel to Mexico. Till then, I'm Mark Murphy. Thanks for tuning in.